Okay, sure. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Saturday lecture, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm delighted to extend a warm welcome on behalf of the Social Sciences Lab, a nonprofit initiative dedicated to fostering research, training, and networking among social sciences researchers in the Middle East and North Africa region. As you know, our mission is deeply rooted in supporting the growth of knowledge and understanding of social issues, particularly in the context of MENA region, and our commitment to education without borders is reflected through our affiliation with Fatima Al-Firi Open University, a beacon of quality education for individuals worldwide, especially those hailing from developing nations. And we firmly believe that education knows no boundaries and should be accessible to all, irrespective of their background or location. And today marks another installment of our esteemed Saturday lectures, which serve as open access platforms designed to enlighten both our students and the general public about related social matters impacting our region. And this Saturday lecture started in 2021, and this year we are thrilled to present the third iteration, packed with insightful discussions and illuminating perspectives. And it's an honor to introduce our distinguished guest speaker for today, Mr. Sher Shah Rahim. He's an entrepreneur who has a decade of leadership experience in well-known companies and governmental organizations in Afghanistan. And he's also a highly experienced IT or information technology professional and a highly sought-after speaker. His expertise has shaped transformative products and companies, including KabulReads and AfghaNet in Afghanistan, and he is one of the young people who fled to the United States after the Taliban took over Afghanistan in August 2021, and he's currently serving as a deputy CIO, supervisory IT specialist at the DC Department of Buildings, and he's also instrumental in leading software projects and inversions, notably bringing automated plan review to the district and contributing to revolution. Okay, I will skip this part. And beyond his professional accomplishments, his captivating insights have been shared on prestigious platforms, including being a speaker at TED Talks, where he inspires audience with his experiences and vision of the tech industry. And his multilingual proficiency further enriches his ability to connect with a diverse audience and drive impactful change in the technology landscape. Without further ado, I extend my gratitude to Mr. Sher Shah Rahim for gracing us with his presence today. And Mr. Rahim, the virtual podium is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Manila and Tilly. It's really an honor to be here and to be presenting. I'll go ahead and share my screen, and then I'll continue with the rest of the talk. So let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, okay.
All right, so the topic of today's presentation or lecture is building a fulfilling career in software development. Now, most of you would say we don't come, we don't come from the IT backgrounds, or we're not interested in technology. Why would you like invite us to something that's software development related, right? And so I promise I'll come to that at the end. This is not about me convincing you to change your career from the wonderful social work that you do to software development, but this is just adding one more layer of knowledge to what you already know, and how you would end up applying that knowledge to what you already do, and how this could enhance or give you additional ways of basically doing all the incredible things that you've always wanted to do. So Manila already did a great job giving the introduction, but just brief. I currently work as a deputy CIO at DC Department of Buildings. I'm also a chief technology officer at WasalPay. I have 10+ years of experience in tech startups like KabulReads, WasalPay, AfghaNet, Bulbul. I have a BA in IT, and I have an MBA from Quantic in the US. Now jumping into the presentation. Now this is, so how does this apply to you, right? The first thing I would say is most of the times I've seen people that have great ideas. It could be social change, it could be something that's more of a private sector, or anything. Like, it doesn't matter if it's for profit or non-profit, as long as you have an idea, and if it is an idea that requires like a mobile app or a website or dependency on a tech team, you will always you will have two options. First, you will need a team, resources, and of course the time to execute that. But if you don't have that, then you would need the money to hire that team, and to work with them. So if you don't have either one, then your only option is to do nothing about it. So you just keep that awesome or great idea deep down, and you never bring it out, right? And so this is about that. I mean, if you have no team, resources, or time, but have always had a great idea to work on, by the end of this presentation, I will at least open one of the doors, like one of the many doors. There are hundreds and thousands of doors to get into implementing your idea. This is just one of them, and hopefully this will lead to many more. One thing I would like to add to this is that in the age of AI, I mean, we have AI that can draw images, that can write like thousands of words, filled, of articles, and so much more. This AI also applies to mobile app development and website development. So if you have an idea, it's not the 1990s, whereas you would have to go to a tech team. Now it's all online. You find the right tools, and you understand how to use them, and then you can build what you want with it, right? Without knowing how to develop or write softwares. So of course, I mean, the purpose of this entire presentation is to know the tools to build sustainable tools yourself, right? And so by sustainable, I'll come to why is it that I've highlighted the word sustainable, because more often we end up learning the skills to build tools, but we don't make them sustainable, and we end up losing them or not having enough or sufficient resources or budget to sustain those tools. So end of the presentation, we will know how to build a tool and build an app with the online tools, and also how to keep them sustainable. So that's the goal of this entire presentation. All right, so I got a great idea. Now what? Do you have to learn to code? Of course, no. You don't have to learn to code. You have to learn where to go and what tools to use. Now, there are a couple of solutions to that. I mean, usually when you want to work on something, you reach out to a team and you ask them to build that thing for you. But since there's been a lot of time, I mean, since the the introduction of the first iPhone till now, which is 15+ years, there's been a lot of development in place, and there's been a lot of entrepreneurs that build stuff like that. People that build research tools like a mobile app that you can use to collect data from the field, but they were not able to execute them properly. Like, they built stuff, but they could not execute them. and therefore they end up selling what they've already built. So they're not building it custom for you. What they're doing is basically what they've built for themselves. They're selling it to you, and if it's something useful to you, then you take it and you use it, right? That's the easiest option, and that's why I have CodeCanyon on the top of my list. This is that solution. So CodeCanyon is basically more of a marketplace that I'll talk about in a few minutes, where you can go and search for the tools or the type of applications and websites that you want to purchase. And if you find something that applies to you, you buy it, you customize it, and you launch it. That's all. You don't need to build it from the ground up. Second option is app builders. I mean, you don't need to develop anything. This is again drag and drop. I mean, this is basic. If you can build a presentation, I mean, PowerPoint presentation. This was something very difficult when PowerPoint was initially introduced, but it became part of our set skill, like set skills or skill sets. And the reason PowerPoint is now part of our skill set is because we know we're going to end up using it one day. So before we start our professional career, the first thing we learned is how to use a computer, and then Word and Excel and PowerPoint, and these are the top of the list. But I think these app builders and these things need to come to that list as well, so that you if you end up wanting to build something and you don't have the resources, you will have the skills to build it, and those skills are not as difficult as they used to be in the past. So they are similar to a PowerPoint. You drag and drop and you build it and you launch it. And the last option is SaaS solutions. So SaaS is basically software as a service. And what this means is that you don't even need any of those skills. Like, this may be a little difficult. This is a little less difficult. This is not difficult at all. So SaaS is basically something is built, it's on the cloud. You sign up, you create your account, and you use the entire solution as a service. You don't need to build anything. So that's that. And you may already be using a lot of SaaS solutions that you don't know about. So that's about that. Now, I spoke about CodeCanyon. This is a screenshot of that. I'm going to go ahead and share my other screen to show you how it's going to look like and how could you find something that you want. All right, so this is the website, codecanyon.net. If you go there, it has this search box, and in the search box, you write what you need, right? So let's say if you're a social entrepreneur and you're working on something that could help people improve their health or their well-being, then you come here and you will search for health apps, right? So I will type in health. And if I type health, now these are all the different apps that are built by people. Again, I mean, these people built these apps. They couldn't execute them, or for some reason they didn't want to keep it proprietary. So what they did is that they published the entire source code on this marketplace, and they allow people to buy it and reuse them, right? So for example, I would just pick one of these. For example, this one, which is a health and fitness app, right? You had this idea to build, let's say, a health and fitness app in Nigeria that speaks that isn't like in your local language and is not only in English, but you never had the resources to build it. So this is I would say the time to do that. You come here, you look for it, you try the live preview, or you look at the screenshots, and if you figure out that, okay, this is something that would work for you, and you would only need to translate the app, then there's not a lot of work to do for you.
No. Yeah, I would definitely.
Is there a question? Please go ahead if so. I guess no. So I'll continue. So yes, I mean, you get an app, you look at the screenshots, you purchase it. It's only $10. I mean, to build such an app, you would have to spend $10,000 or more than that. So you only pay $10. You get the source code, and then you basically take it from there. So this is kind of a glimpse of what can be purchased online instead of building it entirely from the ground up. Now, this is one example. Another is that, let's say you have a data collection tool. you want to collect data, right? It is possible that there's stuff online, but if there are none, then there are other ways to find them as well. And these are some of the solutions that currently exist, like phone builders and things like that. One good tool that I used to make use of when it came to data collection was something called ODK Collect. And I'm sure some of you may know this, but this is also open source. So this is another way to get your hands on things that have already been built. You only take it, you customize it, and you implement it for yourself or for your project. So that's another way to do it. All right, so back to the PowerPoint. So that's Code Canyon. Now, the next thing is the drag and drop app builders. Now, what I mean by drag and drop is that tools where you can sign up and they give you components and you drag and drop components and you build your app yourself, like a couple of blocks. So you take the blocks, you build it, and if you're happy with it, you just launch it. And tools like that exist. I mean, Flutterflow is one of them. AppyPie is another. The one that I like, and I'm going to demo this to you, is called AppYet. And I'll tell you why is it that I like this one so much. The number one reason is that most of these app builders that you would purchase would basically ask you for a payment. Like they would ask you to pay them a monthly subscription fee, right? So that you can build your app using their tools and then launch the app. AppYet is different. They don't ask you for a payment. What they ask you is that you build the app, you launch your app, and then the revenue that you generate, you give 30% of that revenue to AppYet if you generate any revenue with it. If not, then it's entirely yours for free. And the kind of things you can build with this, I mean, it's not a tool where you can go ahead and like build all sorts of things. It's very limited, but it's focused to it's targeted towards a specific audience. Let's say you work in social sciences, right? And you want to build something like you have been looking for an app that can give you the latest news on social sciences in the MENA region, but you cannot find any app. So now it's time for you to build that app and launch it so that people can have access to the latest social sciences, to the latest news on social sciences, and specifically in the MENA region. So let's build that app. I mean, the first thing you do is you go to appyet.com, you sign up. Once you sign up, you click on Create App, and this is the first screen that you would see. It's asking me to give it a name. I would say social science MENA, right? Something like that. So package, oops, I'm gonna have to re-log in. Social sciences MENA, and I would say so it's picking the package name for me, but I can change this. This has to be unique, something that does not already exist, but you don't need to know the technical of it. So once I do that, I would say create app, and it basically built my app for me. Now it's only asking me to pick an icon for my app, like when you open an app, every single app has its own unique icon. So it's asking you to choose that. But what really matters to us is this part, the modules part, right? And so what it does is that it has all of these modules in there. Like there's this one that's for podcast, this one for audio, this one for video, and you can link every single one of them with a website. It will go ahead and automatically get the data from that website, and it will show it. So you don't have to update it constantly. But let's try with something simple, right? So let's say go to new module, and it's asking us what do you want, right? So what I really want is, I mean, I can link it to YouTube, and what it would do is that whenever a YouTuber, let's say that you like or follow, that has latest videos on social sciences, and you want their videos to come here to this app automatically, you can do that. Of course, you click on video on YouTube, you give it a name, and then you say, I want this from a specific user. You plug in the user ID, and it's going to get all the latest videos from that user, and it will show it to your customers or to your app users. But what I'm really interested in is not that. I'm interested in something else. It's called the feed. Now, what feed does is that think of this as an individual source where it goes and gets its information. So, for example, I have BBC, right? That's a news channel. I have VOA, that's a news channel. Like every news channel that I want to fetch news from would be an RSS feed for me. So this one, let's say, the first thing I would have to do is search for an RSS feed. So I would say social science news MENA region, right? So this is, I look it up, and if I look it up and if I find something, then the second condition is that I need to make sure that it has something called RSS. So I would come down and look for RSS because some websites do not support that. This one I don't think does, so I'll skip on it. But BBC, I'm sure most of BBC does. So I'll do this: Middle East news RSS. So I found this one, and I would say front page Middle East, right? I found this link. Now this link has XML in the end, which is what matters. So what I'm going to do next is go back there. I'll call this Middle East, or you can call it whatever. And then it's going to ask me for the URL. I would plug in the URL and I would save it. Now, what this did is that I just added one more block to the app, which is called Middle East. Now, if a user comes to my app and they open it, they would see this button called Middle East. When they click on it, they will automatically see all latest news from the arabnews.com website that's specifically for the Middle East, right? So this is just one example, but you can do all sorts of things with it. This is how it's going to look like. Like you remember, I just added Middle East. It's going to show up here. But if I add another channel, it's going to show up here. And similarly, I can add like a YouTube or let's say an audio source, and everything is going to show up here. And then people can listen to audios, they can watch videos, they can read articles on your app for free. And that's about it. All right, so that's about how you can get started with it with zero programming skills. And of course, I mean, it's going to require you some practice. It's not going to be easy when you first open it, but my suggestion would be you don't give up on it. You go ahead and you sign up. You start with something that you wanted to build, like a news app for your specific region or your specific topic. You build that app, you download it, you test it, and you keep on enhancing it. And that's how you will learn how to use that tool and master it. Now, let's say you built something. It's time for you to sustain it, right? I spoke about sustainability at the beginning of the lecture or the presentation, and it's important to have sustainable tools because what you would end up is that you would end up burning your resources, but you will not generate enough in return to support what you have and to keep it sustainable. Now, to do that, I mean, there are so many ways to have sustainable solutions when it comes to mobile apps. Like if you have a sustainable news channel for social sciences and you want to keep it running, the way you would do that is by the 3 different ways. And so number one is advertisements, right? So in the beginning, I mentioned AfghaNet is free, but it's going to do a 30/70 revenue share with you. And that revenue share is done through advertisements. Now we have something called Google Ads, and you might have seen it. So when you open an app, you see an ad banner at the bottom or at the top, or you even sometimes see advertisements coming at your face like full screen, and you have to close it. Now that's how app developers make money from these, from the apps that they build and the apps that they provide to you for free. Now it's not for free; everything comes at a price. So the thing that you use, you basically view the ads and you help them generate revenue, right? Now, this is the same thing. The app that you build with AfghaNet, you will place advertisements in it, and whatever revenue you generate, AfghaNet is going to take 30% of it. Now, finding ads is not something that you will have to do manually. It's all done for you by Google. So what you do is, I suggest you go and explore this thing called admob.google.com, and then you will learn how it works. So Google goes ahead and they take advertisements from other companies, and then you are a publisher, they give it to you. Google takes a small cut, but you display you just place the code that they give you, and the app will automatically show new advertisements, and you will make money from those advertisements. That's number one. Let's say you're not interested in that, you don't want to show advertisements or disturb your audiences with advertisements. What is your second option? Now, second option is in-app purchases. I had an app that I recently sold. It's called Bulbul. Now, Bulbul was like an audiobook app. It had, so I was living in Afghanistan. I knew there were a lot of audiobook apps for the US and for other markets that were in English, Hindi, and so many other languages. I could not find a single app that had any audiobooks in Pashto and Farsi, which are my native languages. And so for me to build something, this is what I had to build. I went ahead and I built this app called Bulbul, which means nightingale in English. It's a bird. So I built this app, and we produced like 200 plus audiobooks ourselves. We had a studio, and we built the app and the studio and everything, and we published it. And it went like viral, and it was successful, and thousands of people came in to join the app and use it. So my strategy was to give it to them for free for a limited time, like they could listen to 3 or 4 or 5 audiobooks for free, but then they would have to pay me. And how would they pay me? I had in-app purchases. That in-app purchase is basically selling them coins. Like they would come and they would buy 100 coins for $10, and they would use 10 coins to unlock one audiobook, right? So that was my strategy, and that's how I made money with it. And then eventually I sold the company to another business, and now they run it. But that's another way. So let's say if you have a news channel, and that's collecting feeds from different sources, and you have 5 sources that are free, and there's one source that is premium and that is unique, and you want that one source to be paid, of course you can make it in a way whereas when somebody wants access to that one source, they'll have to pay you a monthly fee, or let's say a one-time fee to unlock that feed. Now that one-time fee is called in-app purchase. And the third one is subscriptions. You might have seen this. This is Netflix, Spotify, thousands of apps, even apps that are not meant to be subscriptions based. They make it subscription based for some reason, and force you to pay them on a monthly basis. Now, this could be something as little as $1 a month, but if you have 1 million users, that's $1 million a month, right? So, this could be a third. This could be a third reason. And there's a very successful story that I've always shared with other people. It's from a person in Vietnam, and that person would usually, like, he had a different job. He was an engineer, like not a computer engineer. He didn't know anything about it, but whenever he would come home, he would sit and basically discover how things are built, and he eventually learned how to build a video game, like a mobile game. And he built something called the Flappy Bird. This is back in 2016, I think. And he built this app called the Flappy Bird, and it went so viral, so successful, that this guy overnight was making $200,000 just from the advertisements in the app, just from the ads. So don't think that, okay, if I have this ad in my app, it's not going to help me at all. No, I mean, if you have somebody, if you end up, let's say, making $5 from 1,000 users, you'll end up making a lot more when you have 1 million users. So, when you build solutions, that these 3 and many more ways to keep it sustainable. So of course, think about its sustainability before you build it. All right. So now to share some statistics that I got from an online website on the MENA region. I mean, app usage and app spending has been growing since 2018 in the MENA region. I mean, in the MENA region alone, people have spent over $1.6 billion in 2021. We don't have the data from 2022 and 2023, but I'm assuming it's a lot more than that. So it could be in the range of $2 and $3 billion. Now that means people are willing to purchase things online. They're willing to pay for services online. It doesn't mean that if you build something, it's not going to work out. So there's a market for it. All it takes is that you understand what you want to build, and you use one of these tools that I've illustrated here in my presentation. You build that thing. You use one of these sources to have a venue of revenue, and once you have that venue, then basically you launch it. That was all of my presentation. If I went too fast, or if there's any part of this presentation that you did not understand, please feel free to let me know. I'll be more than happy to go back and rewind. And I'm sure this presentation is recorded, so you can go ahead and rewatch it as well. Thank you. Back to Manila or Tinley.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rahim, for your thought-provoking presentation, and your insights have provided us with the valuable perspective on the presented topic, and thank you for making the nice presentation as well. Now we encourage everyone to share their questions and reflections here on Zoom or through our Facebook live stream. And please let us know if there is any questions or any idea.
Yes, Seb, you raised your hand. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Shay. That is very interesting presentation and very insightful and easy to follow. I really enjoyed it. But I would just like to find out if this platform that you shared, like AfghaNet, for instance, could be used to create ride-hailing apps like the Uber and other commercial apps like that.
Yes, absolutely. Like I mentioned, you don't have to build any of that from the scratch. A lot of people tried it, they've built it, now they don't know what to do with it. So what they're trying to do now is to sell them. And how and where they sell them is marketplaces like Code Canyon. So I'm gonna go ahead and quickly share my screen one more time to show you how you can find it. So this is Code Canyon, right? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So what you do is you would just you would look for ride sharing or ride hailing, right? Whatever word you want to look for. As soon as you do that, right? There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5. There are like so many solutions that are already built. The prices are different, the features are different, they're built differently. You can view the screenshots and and understand if this is something that's going to work for you. Like this one has car, bike, ambulance, rickshaw, bicycle, and things like that. But if this has all the features that you want or that you need, then of course you can go ahead and buy it, but also have a little bit of technical skills to customize it for your market and then launch it. But you don't need to find a company and pay them like thousands of dollars to build it from the scratch for you. This way you save on money and also on time. So you can launch much quicker, much easily.
Okay, thank you.
You're most welcome. Any other question? I mean, you can go ahead and ask me anything. I mean, maybe you had an idea and didn't know how to start, where to start. We have a hand raised, Imiji. If I'm pronouncing the name correctly, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you very much, Thank you very much, Sashi. You pronounced it well. Yeah. All right. So you made mention about Bubble app when you were making your presentation at the beginning. So I want to ask that this Bubble app, is it possible to create like a database with Bubble, like a app that can maybe people can sign in, you know, users can sign in, like just like a real app.
I lost you there. Can you please repeat?
Okay. All right. Okay. So my question is, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My question, you made mention about Bubble app at the beginning of your lecture. So my question is, can you be able to create a database management app with Bubble? Yeah.
Database management app. Now, Bulbul was something that I built myself. It's an audiobook app. You cannot build anything else with it. The thing that I showed you is called AppYet. And AppYet is only for news channels and building apps that are informative, like that collects information from other places and puts it in your app that people can use to follow those channels. If you want to build an app like that, there are other solutions available in the market, and I'll leave a few names in the chat, but one is called Bubble, right? It's called Bubble App Builder. You can build anything with it, like including an MIS where you can have a database and like it's endless possibilities. You just need to learn how to use it. I left the link in the chat for you.
Sorry. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, just a personal question. Why did you sell your app?
The reason I sold my app was, again, sustainability. And that's why I said it's important that you build apps that are sustainable. And the app that I built was not easily sustainable. And the reason I'm saying it was not easily sustainable was because I had to hire a team or pay a team that develops and maintains the mobile app and the web app, and but also hire a team of like a production team that can continuously produce more content. Because if I stop producing more content, then nobody's going to continue using the app. I mean, what they will end up listening to all the audiobooks that they like, and that's it. There's no more new content for it. So to make it interesting and reusable like Netflix, I had to keep on reinvesting in the production part. Now I was able to produce about 200, but to make it reach 1,000 audiobooks or 2,000, a bigger company had to jump in and take over, and that's why I made this decision to make sure that I don't let it die, and I let somebody else, somebody better, take care of it. And that company came in, they took over it. Now they're investing in a production studio, and they keep on producing more audiobooks.
Okay, thank you.
Most welcome.
All right. Okay, I have a question, sir. All right. Thank you very much, sir. All right. So you made mention about AdMob. Yeah, that you can use it to monetize your app, right? So my question is how long does Google take to monetize your app? Are there setting like duration, like 1 month, 2 months? I don't know, like the duration for Google to monetize your app.
Now, if you want to place advertisements, it's not going to take you a lot of, like, you don't have to wait at all. You just go ahead and integrate it and take that ad banner code and you place it, and Google will begin showing advertisements. Now, how soon can you make money with it? That really depends on how soon can you grow the app. So if you grow it fast and you get more downloads, then of course you will end up making money a lot faster. And Google will pay you in 2 ways, or maybe more than 2 ways now, but that's when I was using it. There was CPM, and there's CPC. Now CPM is cost per impression, like M is 1,000 in Roman, so that's why it's like that's the cost per impression. Now every time 1,000 people view that ad, that single ad, you get $5. That's how much Google will pay you. Now it doesn't mean you will have to have 1,000 users. It could be 500 or let's say 200 users that go to 5 different pages and they see 5 different ads, and that's how you end up generating like 1,000 impressions. If you have 1 million users and they use the app for let's say 10 minutes, and in those 10 minutes they go to 100 different pages, then that's 1 million times 100, and that's how many impressions you have because they visited like 100 pages each. That's one way. Another way is CPC, which is cost per click, which is, I think, if I'm not wrong, about 20 cents per click. So every time like you show an ad and it's interesting to the user and they click on it, you get like 20 cents from that click. So that's another way to make money with it. And this applies not just to mobile apps, but also to YouTube channels. Like if you have a YouTube channel, you can begin showing advertisements and link it to your ads, like to your AdSense account. I guess YouTube has a condition, which is that you must have like 1,000 subscribers or so, but there's no condition on the when it comes to mobile apps. You can immediately show ads, but regarding making money with it, it really depends on how soon can you grow that app.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Yep.
And I have come across SOE. This is Seth. SOE. I actually don't know the full meaning, but in the context, it was kind of to boost the presence of app or website. If you could kind of throw more light on it and relate it to this discussion, how it could be useful to an app developer.
So SEO is search engine optimization. And what it does is that when let's say Google, right? Google is a search engine. Now you have to optimize your app or website for Google search. Like if somebody is looking for, let's say, ride sharing, they should be able to get your app first so that they can click on it, because like 99% of the users don't go to the second page. They click on what's available on the first page. Now to make sure that your app shows up on the first page, that is called SEO, search engine optimization. You have to optimize your app to make sure that it appears there, right? Now, the way Google works is that when you look for something, Google will see how many times each website is mentioned in other websites. Like for example, if your ride-sharing app is mentioned 1,000 times in other websites, Google will prioritize your website. It will think it's more important. It will bring it to the top. If there's another website that's mentioned, let's say 500 times in other websites, in other articles, in other social media posts, Google will think it's second most important. It's going to show that next. And this way, Google basically prioritizes what's on the top, second, third, fourth, fifth, right? So to optimize your app, you'll need to make sure that you increase its accessibility and also increase the way people talk about it. So you will need to engage more people. You'll need to ask more newspapers and other channels to write about you. And when they write about you, that's how you get more backlinks. It's called backlink. And that's how Google will know that you are more important than the other person, and it will show your link on the top. So it takes a lot of time. It's not just a simple click. You have to spend spend your time and also resources on it. So to make sure that you get more backlinks than the other person.
Okay, thank you again.
Most welcome. I think there's a question in the chat. It says, what do you think makes a successful app since taking power the Taliban seems to be increasingly plugged into technology using smartphones communication app is a good sign. Do you think there are barriers to entry for aspiring developers from developing countries, and how can these barriers be met? What I would say is that, this is my personal opinion, what I would say is that the Taliban are not increasingly plugged into technology. It's the people that are increasingly plugged into technology. So the Afghans want it, the people want it. That's why the Taliban cannot stop it. That's why they need to invest in it. And they know it's one way to easily generate revenue for the government as well. For example, taxation. Now, if you want to enforce taxation on the public, it's really difficult to hold people accountable. How would you know how much money they made so that you can tax them? There's no way for you to do that. But if you bring in technology, they report every single to you. You know how much money they made, and that's why it's easier. It's easier for you to tax them, and it's easier for you to make money from them, right? So that's that part. One way to make an app successful is consistency, and I will give you an app called, it's a similar, it's an app from Afghanistan called WasalPay. Now, WasalPay started in 2015 when I was with them. It's a company called More Afghanistan. Now, we built this app called WasalPay, but in 2015 nobody was using it. Like, nobody wanted to use a mobile payment app or a taxation app. I left that company in 2018. It wasn't doing, like, the app wasn't doing so much good at that time as well. But the owner of the app did not give up on it. He kept on pushing it. Today, like, I would say it's been about 8 years, right? So 8 years after, they're processing 1 billion Afghani every month. That's a ton of money that they process through their app right now. But it wasn't overnight. It was consistency. They could have given up. There were 6 different mobile apps that were doing the same thing. All of them gave up, and they shut down, and they closed it, and they moved on to work on something else. But this one guy did not give up on it. He kept on pushing, and that's how it worked for him. So I would say consistency, in short, is how you make something successful. Any more questions? Is that all?
I think there was a question on, do you think there are barriers to entry for aspiring developers from developing countries, and how can these barriers be met? Yeah.
Okay, I thought that's one question. So I'll read it one more time. Do you think there are barriers to entry for aspiring developers from developing countries, and how can these barriers be met? Now, developing or underdeveloped countries, I mean, both are, I would say there are more opportunities in those countries than barriers, because if a country is already developed, there are 1,000 people that are competing. There are hundreds of corporations that are funding these big, giant applications. So it's really difficult for you to compete with them. I mean, it would be 1 in a million that will come out of nowhere to compete with a giant app and then win. And then even if they win, that giant app will end up buying that winning app, right? So it has happened a lot of the times in the past as well. But in the underdeveloped countries or developing countries, that doesn't happen. Of course, the challenges are a lot more. You don't have access to funding. You don't have access to talent. You don't have access to resources. The government is not supporting you. There's so many other barriers, but the end result is also good. You don't have a competing giant company that can just eat you, right? Or that wouldn't let you be successful. So if it is an underdeveloped or a developing company, then it is easier to find talent at a lower cost. But of course, to change people's mindset, like to convince them to buy, like to use your technology instead of the traditional way of doing business, it's not going to be easy. It would require a lot of consistency. One example is when I built something called KabulReads. It was an e-commerce platform where people could buy books. When I started that, I knew a lot of Afghans wouldn't buy something online. They wouldn't trust it. So I didn't go to the traditional market. I started with English books. I knew if somebody could speak English, they would know how to use an e-commerce platform. So my cost to train that person or that individual would not be as high as training someone who doesn't speak English. So I started with English. It was a lot easier to acquire that English-speaking market, even if it was a smaller market in comparison to the larger Pashto or the Dari-speaking market. But I started with English. It went successful, and then those English-speaking consumers will go ahead and they will talk to the Pashto and Dari-speaking consumers, and they will train them how to use it, right? Like their friends and families and things like that. So it doesn't have to be done through money or resources. It has to be done through a proper strategy. And if you know your country well, then you would know how to execute something.
Thanks for answering your questions. And does anyone else have any other questions for our speaker? Okay, if not, then I'll hand over the time to Manila.
Okay, thank you so much. I just want to express my sincere gratitude to Mr. Rahim for sharing his knowledge and insights with us today. And if there is no more questions, so we can just close today's session. And I would like to thank everyone for joining us today on Zoom and on Facebook Live.
Thank you all
I-
for joining. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank
You're
you so much,
welcome.
Mr. Rahim, for your time again and for the nice presentation. And have a wonderful day, everyone.